Today we are looking at a fascinating Blitz encounter from the March 4, 2025 edition of Title Tuesday, where the world number 1 Magnus Carlsen faced fellow Norwegian Grandmaster Aryan Tari. On paper this might look like just another Blitz game, but what makes this one particularly interesting is the way Magnus slowly takes control of the position and converts what begins as a balanced game into a completely dominant one. This game is a great illustration of Carlsen's trademark style, patience, positional understanding, and relentless pressure that eventually forces mistakes from the opponent. As the game begins, both players enter the opening phase cautiously. In Blitz games, especially at the highest level, the opening often serves as a battleground where both players try to reach a comfortable position without spending too much time on the clock. Magnus chooses a solid and flexible setup, prioritizing development and central control rather than going for sharp theoretical lines. Aryan Tari also develops naturally, and for the first several moves the position remains fairly balanced. Both sides complete their development, bringing knights and bishops into active squares while preparing to castle their kings. From a purely objective standpoint, nothing dramatic has happened yet. However, this is exactly the type of position where Magnus thrives. Carlsen is known for taking positions that look equal and gradually creating problems for his opponent. Instead of forcing tactics immediately, he focuses on improving the placement of his pieces one move at a time. His rooks begin to move toward open or semi-open files, his knights search for strong outposts, and his queen quietly supports potential attacking ideas. At this stage of the game, Tari is still holding the balance, but he already has to make several precise defensive decisions. In Blitz, even small inaccuracies can have large consequences, because every move is played under significant time pressure. Magnus understands this perfectly and begins to increase the complexity of the position. One of the key ideas that Carlsen employs here is the concept of gradual pressure. Rather than launching a direct attack on the king, he starts targeting small weaknesses in Tari's pawn structure. A slightly weak pawn, an undefended square, or an awkwardly placed piece can all become long-term targets. Move by move, Magnus tightens the screws. His pieces become more active, while Tari's pieces begin to lose coordination. This is often how Carlsen wins games in Blitz. The position slowly becomes uncomfortable for the opponent, even if the computer evaluation might still say the position is close to equal. Eventually, the game reaches the critical middle game moment. Magnus finds a dynamic idea that opens up the position at exactly the right time. This is a classic Carlsen moment. After quietly building pressure for many moves, he suddenly changes the nature of the position and forces concrete calculations. Tari now has to find accurate moves under severe time pressure. Unfortunately for him, Blitz games rarely allow players enough time to calculate everything perfectly. A small miscalculation or an imprecise defensive move is all Magnus needs. Carlsen seizes the opportunity and begins to create tactical threats. His pieces coordinate beautifully, and suddenly the position that once looked calm is full of danger. Whether it is a pawn breakthrough, a discovered attack, or a piece sacrifice idea lurking in the background, Magnus has transformed the position into something extremely difficult to defend. At this point in the game, the momentum clearly shifts in Carlsen's favor. Tari is forced onto the defensive, reacting to threats instead of creating his own. Magnus continues to play with remarkable precision, maximizing the activity of every piece on the board. Soon the pressure becomes too much. Tari either loses material or is forced into a position where his pieces are completely tied down. Once Magnus gains a tangible advantage, the character of the game changes again. Now we enter what might be the most impressive phase of Carlsen's play, the conversion phase. Many players are capable of gaining an advantage, but converting that advantage cleanly, especially in Blitz, is a different challenge altogether. Magnus simplifies the position at the right moments, exchanging pieces when it benefits him and keeping active pieces when necessary. His king becomes an active participant, marching toward the center as the endgame approaches. His rooks occupy dominant files, and his pawns begin to advance. What makes Carlsen's endgame technique so special is his ability to remove all counterplay from the opponent. Tari finds himself in a situation where every possible continuation still leads to a worse position. There are no tricks left. no tactical escapes, and no active plans available. Step by step, Magnus improves his position until the outcome becomes inevitable. The advantage grows from small to decisive. Eventually, the position reaches the point where resistance is no longer possible, and Tari is forced to resign. This game is a perfect demonstration of why Magnus Carlsen has dominated Blitz and rapid chess for so many years. Instead of relying purely on opening preparation or flashy tactics, he uses a deep understanding of chess fundamentals, piece activity, pawn structure, coordination, and timing. Even against a strong grandmaster like Aryan Tari, Carlsen manages to transform a quiet position into a strategic masterpiece. The lesson here is that in chess, especially in fast-time controls, pressure and precision can be just as powerful as spectacular sacrifices. For viewer and aspiring players, there is a lot to learn from this game. Pay attention to how Magnus improves his pieces, how he identifies weaknesses in the opponent's position, and how he chooses the right moment to open the position and create tactical opportunities. It also highlights the importance of patience. Magnus doesn't rush the attack. Instead, he waits for the right moment, building up small advantages until the position becomes impossible for the opponent to handle. Games like this remind us that chess is not always about dramatic sacrifices or immediate checkmates. Sometimes the most impressive victories come from quiet moves, subtle improvements, and relentless pressure that gradually overwhelms the opponent. And that is exactly what we saw in this encounter from Title Tuesday on March 4, 2025, where Magnus Carlsen once again demonstrated why he remains one of the greatest players in the history of chess, defeating Aryan Tari with a methodical and highly instructive performance. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to watch the full game carefully and try to follow Magnus's ideas move by move. You might be surprised how much you can learn from the subtle details of his play.